I went to an EDM music festival my sophomore year in college with three of my friends who I'll call Lauren, Janet, and Stephanie. I was a bit hesitant to go, and honestly it wasn't really my scene, but I guess it was good to have the experience. One thing I didn't know ahead of time was how much people, specifically women, put into their outfits, and Janet helped me put mine together as she'd apparently gone to other festivals before. She handed me these black fishnet stockings and told me they were a must, said they caught the light perfectly under the strobes and made your legs look like they went on forever. I laughed and felt ridiculous pulling them on in the dorm mirror, but once we got there I saw she was right. Half the girls in the crowd were wearing them. They were just part of the uniform, I guess. The festival was everything people said it would be, deafening bass you felt in your bones and neon lasers slicing through fog. Everyone was packed so tight you couldn't fall even if you wanted to. We danced for hours, screaming lyrics we barely knew, sweat mixing with glitter. At some point the headliner came on and the entire field turned into one living, pulsing thing. And that's when I saw her. At first, I thought it was the light playing tricks. There was a girl, maybe 30 feet away, standing completely still while everyone around her moved. She was the same height as me and had the same loose ponytail. She was also wearing the same cropped hoodie and denim shorts and, clear as anything under the ultraviolet glow, the same black fishnet stockings. Even the little ladder run I'd accidentally put in the left thigh when I snagged them on my dorm bed frame earlier that day, in the exact same spot. I froze, but she didn't. Instead, she stared right at me, head slightly tilted, with no expression at all. I grabbed Janet's arm and shouted over the music, "Do you see that girl? She looks exactly like me." Janet squinted and frowned, then shook her head. "You're just fried, babe. There's nobody there." I looked back, and the girl was gone. I did my best to shake it off. I told myself it was the strobe lights, the dehydration, whatever. We kept dancing, but 20 minutes later I felt eyes on me again. I turned, and there she was, only she was closer this time, maybe 15 feet away. She wore the same blank expression, and I saw the same run in the exact same place on her thigh. Only now her head was tilted the other way, like she was studying me. This time, when I pointed her out, all three of my friends looked. Nobody saw anything, though. After that, I couldn't stop scanning the crowd. Every flash of purple light, I searched for those fishnets, and every single time, she was there. 10 feet, then 7, then 5. The girl was never walking, never pushing through people. She was just suddenly there, like the crowd itself was carrying her forward without her taking a single step. The last time I saw her, she was literally 3 feet away. It was close enough that the black light made her skin look almost blue. I could also see her lips were moving, saying something I couldn't hear over the drop. Her eyes never blinked, not once. Then the beat cut out for that half second of silence they always do before the biggest drop of the night. In that tiny window of quiet, I swear I heard her voice, soft and flat, right in my ear even though her mouth was still moving silently in front of me. "Those are mine." The bass hit again like a bomb. The crowd roared and surged forward. I stumbled and got separated from my friends in the crush. When I finally fought my way back to where we'd been standing, they were gone. I spent the next hour trying to find them. I texted and called, but nothing. Service was apparently garbage out here. Eventually I gave up and started walking toward the exit, figuring they'd done the same. But that's when I saw them. All 4 of them. Lauren, Janet, Stephanie, and me. They were near the gates, laughing, arms around each other, heading out. I saw my own face turn toward me for just a second. She smiled, the same two-eyed smile I'd seen earlier, and gave a little finger wave. Then she turned back to Janet, said something that made them all crack up, and they disappeared into the parking lot together. I stood there like an idiot screaming their names, but the music was still thundering behind me and no one turned around. I ended up getting a ride home with some other people from my dorm who happened to see me wandering. When I finally got back to my room at 4 a.m., I ripped those fishnet stockings off and threw them straight in the trash. 2 days later, Janet posted the group photo on Instagram. 4 girls with their arms around each other under the festival lights, covered in glitter and sweat, grinning like idiots. Only the 4th girl wasn't me. She had the same face and same ponytail and the same outfit, but the fishnet stockings on her legs? There wasn't a single run, not even in the spot I'd snagged mine. They were perfect. Every single one of my friends had liked the photo and commented how it was the best night of their lives. I still get notifications when they tag me in new pictures, but it's my doppelganger who's in every one of them, not me. I don't go to festivals anymore, and I swear sometimes when I'm walking across campus alone at night, I'll catch a reflection in a dark window. It looks like someone is keeping the exact same pace behind me, wearing black fishnet stockings that catch the streetlights just right. When I turn around, there's never anyone there, but the reflection keeps walking. I know this is completely random, but one day I found a pair of fishnet stockings on the ground while walking into middle school, and it ended up changing my life. Ironically, I didn't even know what they were at the time, and I just picked them up thinking they were trash and intending to throw them away. They were just lying there on the sidewalk right outside the main doors, all bunched up like someone had dropped them in a hurry. I figured I'd be doing someone a favor by tossing them in the nearest bin. Therefore, I stuffed them into the side pocket of my backpack and forgot all about them until third period. When I pulled out my notebook, there they were again, only now they looked cleaner. It was as if someone had washed and folded them. I thought maybe they'd gotten mixed up with gym clothes or something, so at lunch I wadded them up and threw them straight into the big rolling trash cart behind the cafeteria. I even watched the janitor wheel it away. That should have been the end of it, but when I got home and dumped my backpack on my bed, the fishnet stockings were sitting right on top. They were also perfectly folded into a neat square. That's when I got this cold feeling in my stomach. I told myself I must have grabbed them by mistake, like a panic move or something, and I marched them outside and buried them at the bottom of the garbage can under all the gross stuff. We had garbage day soon, and I knew they would be gone for good, or at least I thought I knew. That night, I woke up around 2 a.m. to the sound of quiet crying. It was soft, hiccup-type crying, like someone trying really hard not to be heard. I sat up and turned on my lamp, but there was nobody there. However, the stockings were laid out on my carpet in the exact shape of two legs, stretched out like someone had just stepped out of them and vanished. I screamed and my dad ran in, half asleep. He looked around, but didn't see anything. Eventually he told me it was just a nightmare, and he went back to bed. The stockings were gone by morning. However, for the next week it kept happening over and over. I'd get rid of them, trash, creek behind the school, even the donation bin at the grocery store, and they'd always come back. Sometimes they'd be folded on my pillow, and sometimes tucked into my shoes. Once they were even draped over my desk chair like someone had sat there wearing them. Then the girls started showing up. The first time was in the school bathroom mirror. I was washing my hands and looked up, and there was a girl standing behind me, pale, stringy dark hair, and old ripped jeans. She also had those black fishnet stockings with a hole in the left knee. She wasn't moving, instead she was just staring at me, with no expression on her face. I whipped around, but there was no one, and turning back the mirror was empty. After that, I started seeing the girl everywhere. She'd be walking behind me in the hallway, standing at the edge of the playground, and always wearing those same stockings. But it was only in my peripheral vision. One night I woke up and she was sitting cross-legged at the foot of my bed, head down, rocking a little. I couldn't move and couldn't even breathe loud. She looked up and whispered, "You weren't supposed to take them home." Her voice was scratchy, like she hadn't used it in years. They only let go if someone else takes them home too. At last I could speak. "Who are you?" The girl smiled, but it wasn't a nice smile. The last one who picked them up. Then she was gone. That one encounter was completely terrifying. I began researching online, typing in everything I could think of about haunted fishnet stockings. I felt ridiculous, but I was still too scared to quit. Nothing came up though. Then I told my best friend, and she thought I was pranking her. I even tried confessing to my mom, but the second I said the word stockings, she started laughing and said I'd been watching too many scary videos. It didn't matter though, the girl kept appearing, closer every time. And things started going wrong. For instance, I twisted my ankle at recess and failed 2 tests in a row. Then I got grounded for something I didn't even do. It felt like the longer I kept the stockings, the worse my luck got. Finally, I had an idea. I took them back to the exact spot I'd found them, the same crack in the sidewalk, and left them there before school. Then I hid behind the bushes and waited. 43 minutes, That's how long it took. A sixth grade girl I didn't know walked by, stopped, looked around, then quickly shoved the stockings into her backpack and hurried inside. I almost threw up from relief. I waited for something to happen, for the air to feel lighter, and for the girl to stop showing up. But nothing. That night, the crying started again, but this time it wasn't in my room. It was coming from down the hall, softer and farther away. When I passed the new girl in the hallway the next day, she looked up at me with huge, terrified eyes. She knew. I still see the ghost girl sometimes, standing behind the new one now, smiling that same empty smile. I'm free, but I can't stop checking the ground everywhere I go. I know exactly what will happen if someone else picks up the wrong piece of trash, and I'll never be able to warn them in time. A few months out of college, I began to feel depressed for some reason. I had a decent job in my own apartment, but I was now living in a different city and knew practically no one there. I worked for a small insurance firm, and most of my coworkers were significantly older than me, and I didn't really hang out with them. Eventually, I made it a habit to stop by this bar on the way home after work, not to drink, but just to go somewhere other than straight to my apartment. The place was called The Lantern. It was dim, quiet, and had old brick walls and jazz on the speakers low enough that you could still think. I'd sit in the same corner booth, nurse a ginger ale, and pretend I was waiting for someone. At any rate, it beat staring at the same four walls back home. Then one Thursday in October, the rain was colder than usual and tapped the windows like fingernails. I was halfway through my drink when the door opened and she walked in. She shook water off a black umbrella, hung up a long dark coat, and every light in the place seemed to find her at once. Her dark hair was in loose waves, she wore deep red lipstick, and a black dress that stopped just above the knees. But most impossible to miss were the black fishnet stockings that caught every bit of the amber glow from the bar lamps. She looked like she'd stepped straight out of a 1940s noir film. The woman scanned the room once, then locked eyes with me, and smiled like she'd been looking for me specifically, and walked straight over. "Mind if I steal the other side of your booth?" she asked. "Every stool at the bar is taken by guys who think buying me a drink earns them my life story." I laughed before I could stop myself. "Please, I'm harmless." The woman slid in across from me. "I'm Elise. I'm Connor." We ended up talking for 3 hours straight. She was easy to talk to in a way nobody had been since I moved. Funny, sharp, and asked real questions and actually listened to the answers. Elise worked as a graphic designer and loved old horror movies, hated olives, and could quote The Princess Bride from memory. When the bartender finally called last call, I realized I hadn't checked my phone once. We started meeting there every Thursday after that. Same booth, same ginger ales. She didn't drink either. Sometimes we'd stay until they kicked us out. Elise told me the fishnet stockings were her lucky charm, and said she only wore them when she was feeling brave. I told her they worked. Unfortunately, 2 months in, things got weird. I started seeing her when she wasn't supposed to be there. The first time was on a Tuesday. I was walking home alone, flipping channels, when I glanced out my window and saw a woman standing under the streetlight across the road. She wore the same coat and had the same posture, and also had the same unmistakable pattern of those stockings under the hem. The woman was just watching my building. I blinked and she was gone, and I told myself it was a coincidence. It must have been someone who looked just like her. Then on a Saturday, I went to the laundromat and saw her sitting in the corner folding clothes. I walked over to surprise her, but when I got close, the woman looked up and had a totally different face. I mumbled an apology and practically ran away. The worst one, though, was the night I woke up at 3 a.m. from a dead sleep, convinced someone was in my apartment. I sat up, and there she was, standing at the foot of my bed in the dark, completely still, those fishnets visible even in the streetlight leaking through the blinds. I yelled and fumbled for the lamp, and when the light came on, the room was empty. I didn't sleep again that night. The next Thursday, I almost didn't go to the bar, but I missed her too much, so I went anyway, hands shaking. Elise was already in our booth. She took one look at me and said, "You look like you've seen a ghost." I laughed, but the tone came out wrong. However, before I could chicken out, I just told her everything. The sightings, the laundromat, the bedroom, all of it. When I finished, Elise was quiet for a long time, then she reached across the table and took my hand. "Connor," she said gently, "I need to tell you something." My stomach dropped hearing those words. I have an identical twin sister, Evelyn. She isn't well. She's been fixated on me ever since we were kids and copies everything I do and shows up places I go. She never speaks, only watches. I didn't tell you because I was terrified you'd run. Most people do. I just stared at her, having no idea in the world what to say. She's harmless, Elise went on quickly. Just lost. I've been trying to get her help for years. The fishnet stockings, they were our mom's. We both kept one pair. Eve stole the other. She only wears them when she's following me. It's her way of feeling close. I didn't say anything for a full minute. Then I started laughing, relieved, overwhelmed, ridiculous laughter that turned into something close to crying. Elise looked like she was bracing for me to bolt. Instead, I squeezed her hand and said, "You should have told me sooner. I thought I was losing my mind. Or that you were some kind of ghost come to steal my soul because I fell for a girl in fishnet stockings." Elise laughed, eyes shining. "So you're not scared off?" "I'm so far from scared off, it's not even funny." 6 months later, I finally met Evelyn properly, over coffee, in daylight, with Elise right there holding her sister's hand the whole time. Evelyn was shy and soft-spoken, but smiled when I told her I liked her stockings too. Therapy had been helping, a lot. Elise wore those same fishnets on our wedding day 2 years later, under her dress where only I could see them. She told me they weren't just her lucky charm anymore, they were our beginning. And every now and then, when we're walking home at night and I catch that familiar pattern flashing under a streetlight, I don't flinch. I just reach for her hand and keep walking, together.